Exodus by Koolhaas explains Superstudio's continuous monument. All of the visuals are produced by Superstudio. Once, a city was divided in two parts. One part became the good half, the other part the bad half. The inhabitants of the bad half began to flock to the good part of the divided city. If this situation had been allowed to continue forever, the population of the good half would have doubled, while the bad half would have turned into a ghost town. After all attempts to interrupt this undesirable migration had failed, the authorities of the bad part made desperate and savage use of architecture. They built a wall around the good part of the city, making it completely inaccessible to their subjects. The wall was a masterpiece. The good half now glimpsed only over the forbidding obstacle from an agonizing distance, became even more irresistible. Those trapped, left behind in the gloomy bad half, became obsessed with vain plans for escape. Hopelessness reigned supreme on the wrong side of the wall. As so often before in this history of mankind, architecture was the guilty instrument of despair. It is possible to imagine a mirror image of this terrifying architecture. A force as intense and devastating, but used instead in the service of positive intention. Division, isolation, inequality, aggression, destruction, all the negative aspects of the wall could be the ingredients of a new phenomenon. Architectural warfare against undesirable conditions. This would be an immodest architecture committed not to timid improvements, but to the provision of totally desirable alternatives. The inhabitants of this architecture, though strong enough to love it, would become its voluntary prisoners, ecstatic in the freedom of their architectural confines. Contrary to modern architecture and its desperate afterbirths, this neo-architecture is neither authoritarian nor hysterical. It is the hedonistic science of designing collective facilities that fully accommodate individual desires. From the outside, this architecture is a sequence of serene monuments. The life inside produces a continuous state of ornamental frenzy and decorative delirium, an overdose of symbols. This will be an architecture that generates its own successes. Suddenly, a strip of intense metropolitan desirability runs through the center. This strip is like a runway, a landing strip for the new architecture of collective monuments. Two walls enclose and protect this zone to retain its integrity and to prevent any contaminations of its surface by the cancerous organism that threatens to engulf it. Soon, the first inmates beg for admission. Their number rapidly swells into an unstoppable flow. We witness the exodus. The physical structure of the old town will not be able to stand the continuing competition of this new architectural presence. It will become a pack of ruins. This is the front line of the architectural warfare wagoned on the old town. Here, the merciless progress of the strip performs a daily miracle. The corrective rage of the architecture is at its most intense. In a continuous confrontation with the old city, existing structures are destroyed by the new architecture, and trivial fights break out between the inmates of the old town and the voluntary prisoners of the strip. Some monuments of the old civilization are incorporated into the zone after a rehabilitation of their questionable purposes and programs. A model of the strip, continuously modified through incoming information, conveys strategies, plans, and instructions. Life in the building barracks at the tip of the strip can be hard, but the ongoing creation of this object leaves its builders exhausted with satisfaction.